Hi, Tate.
What's up, Bobby? How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. What am I doing? I did a little cold plunge in preparation for this podcast. That's always the best.
Nice.
A little
Nice.
workout, a little bit of some video editing today. That's usually weird to go from editing videos to being a person and conversing with people. That's a tough thing. What's
Sounds
your
like
day
you're
look like?
jumping around the mental zones there.
Yeah.
My day, it's Thursdays. It's one of my days off. Thursdays is kind of the family day. Got two young kids, so today was swim class, all that kind of stuff, and sat down to do this with you.
Let's go.
Some days, if I'm really lucky on Thursday, I get a ride a little later in the afternoon, but with these short days, that's not helping much right now. So
Isn't it crazy how fast the sun goes down right now? It's insane.
It's rough. I would sure everybody would agree, but it's the worst part of this time of year. I can deal with the cold and stuff like that, but short days and stuff like that, it's
wild. Like during the summer, I feel like I'm up with the sun, 6 a.m. And It's just a beautiful thing outside, enjoying everything. But like in the winter, I'll sleep until the sun comes up, which is like 7:30. How old are your kids?
So Luca, my oldest, he will be 2 in March, and then Nico was born about 2 months ago. So
damn,
pretty full-time dad duty in it, obviously, as you can imagine. I also work full-time, and God bless my wife being home with 2 young boys like that. I have the easy job, let's just say.
Yeah, for real.
So God bless her that she lets me go and ride and stuff like that a few days a week. That's a big sacrifice on her part. I'm definitely thankful for that.
Shout out, wifey. Yeah. Let's see it. What did I just ask? I'm thinking you had 2 kids. Oh, I didn't say it out loud, but it was in my head. I was like, so what is the biggest trait? Because it's only 2 years that you've been a dad. What's the biggest difference in relation to your BMX riding, that having a kid versus before having a kid?
Like how it's affected my riding?
Yeah, I guess riding. Everything
it turned my world upside down, and in a lot of good ways too. Ultimately, it just boils down to time. My time's like very limited right now. Working a full-time job, stuff like that. So I just really have to make the most of the time I get. Currently right now it's I'll get home from work at about 6:30, help out with the kids, do dinner, get them bathed and whatnot. And if we're lucky, get them down by about 9:30. And then at least three to 4 days a week, I'll go ride. And by the time I get out at that, it's about 10 p.m. and I work again at 8 a.m. But I feel like it's extremely important to not stop the reps, basically. So an extremely a lot of times it's a little uncomfortable, and I never want to go out at 10 to ride, but I'm always really happy that I do when I start riding. I'm only going to ride for maybe sometimes even 15, 20 minutes, half hour at most, that late. But I think just keeping the brain and the reps of, being on a bike. So there's a lot of sacrifices as far as that goes. And then typically my day that I get to film is Sunday, and I've kind of got to be ready to go. I really like to have some sort of idea roughly in mind, so I can capitalize on the limited hours of actual filming I get. But I don't always have an idea ready to go, so it's just kind of being ready. So that's, in a nutshell, that's how I'm juggling my writing right now.
That's huge. That makes me think of Clay and Robbie. They both have young kids, and it's like a religious thing. Like Sunday, they're out.
Yep.
Whether it's for a couple hours or all day, and
it's
time becomes more precious, and you realize that, damn, I wasted a lot of time when I was
young. Oh, dude, yeah. I think working a full-time job my whole life, I was always pretty good at being pretty structured with my time, but it's on a whole new level now. And I mean, I think that would go for any parent. It's not just me, or you know what I mean. I'm sure there's a lot of other riders out there, or whatever you're into. You really realize how precious that time is. So,
what about sleep? That's one thing where I'm I definitely want kids, but that's the one thing where I'm fuck.
That was the hardest. My wife took the brunt of that. She was breastfeeding, so I kind of got off the hook with getting up and doing bottles and stuff like that. But don't get me wrong, yes, there was a lot of sleep missed out on.
Yeah.
I've always been really good at power napping though. I've always been a big power nap believer. So
Hell yeah. What's the perfect length of nap?
I like to lay down for about 30 minutes, and sometimes I might just doze off for 5 or 10 minutes, and usually that's enough to get me right back up and at 'em.
That's
But
better.
what's your take on the power nap, Bobby?
I feel better after a 20-minute session than I do after an hour and a half. Like if you get too deep into the sleep cycle, then you
slip
wake
into
up
that REM sleep.
so
You have to
groggy,
start her all up again, right, Bobby?
I've been doing yoga nidra a bunch. Have you ever done that?
No. Tell me about it.
It is yoga, but like it's like the laziest yoga possible. You like
Gotcha.
you either lay on a mat or in your bed and cover your whole body and put your headphones in, noise canceling, put something over your eyes, and then you're guided through breathing, but then also just like a body scan. Like think about relaxing the muscles behind your eyeballs, and it's slow, and you go from your eyeballs down to your toes and your hands and fingers, and just like consciously putting attention on all the parts of your body.
Interesting.
And then
Okay.
when you come back, it's kind of like it is like a reset button for your brain, because my shit, I'll start spiraling and thinking a whole bunch of stuff, and then I'll do a session and come back and be like, all right, let's podcast with Tate. I literally just did it. I laid
Love
down.
it. I love it. Yeah, no, I'm sure we're going to talk about creativity and stuff like that in this, and naps I think are definitely a big part of, kind of letting the brain
Yes, sir.
Have you back in the subconscious and bring it right back up, and sometimes you'll get those best ideas right after that.
It's crazy how that works. Like, this is an obscure reference, but there's a book called Maniac McGee. Have you heard of that?
I can't say that I have. No.
I don't know why you would. But it's a book I read, and it stuck with me because it's this kid, and he's entering knot untying competitions. So like this old town has big old knots, and everybody panics and tries to take apart the thing or whatever, and he decides to take a nap underneath it, and then he wakes up with a clear mind and does the knot perfectly and wins the race. So there's definitely something to like
100%
calming down before you do something. Well, I guess let's that's a good enough segue as any. I was thinking back to your video being called is this the most creative BMX riding of all time, or whatever it is? And I was like, I wonder how Tate defines being creative. Like how do you define creativity?
There's so many ways you could go with that. Obviously, I think there's a lot of riders that wouldn't necessarily be like labeled a creative rider, but are actually like creative in a more subtle way with spot usage or something like that. Personally speaking, my creativity is maybe like smack you in the face with it a little bit more. There's just so many different ways you could take it. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all doing creative stuff on a bike. You know what I mean? I was always kind of labeled that creative guy early on in my career, and I just kind of thought I'll stick that title on me a little bit. But there's just so many different avenues you can go down with it. It's hard to say exactly what creative is. I don't know if that answers the question.
Yeah, for sure. Because it's so like context dependent. Like, because I think at its essence, create just it means creating something. So it's creative that we are creating this podcast just by definition, but it's not very creative to do a podcast. So it like changes. Creative means a whole bunch of stuff. And yeah, I think then you can put it on a pedestal and say like, I don't know, what I imagine that you have in your head is the urge to do something different than what everybody else is doing, because feels like it feels better, or it feels more of a satisfying feeling if you can figure out a way to do something that not everybody else is doing, which I don't think everybody has that urge,
I do too. I think what fueled a big part of my creativity was I was just never the most naturally gifted bike rider. So I kind of had to do different things to stand out. You know what I mean? I just wasn't that guy. You know what I mean? You know, tons of people like that just kind of have that natural it factor. And I really always had to work for my stuff. That being said, I know everybody does, but like work as far as maybe kind of thinking outside the box to get people to notice my riding. And everybody wants to be noticed. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Especially when you're coming up and stuff like that. So I think that was a big factor on why I started doing the unorthodox, if you will.
That's real. I think I want to go in the philosophical route and ask you about like because you said you had to in order to stand out, but it's like why do you want to stand out? Like what is the whole motivation from the beginning? Do you remember your first taste of like, ooh, I like that. I want to be great and be seen doing this stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I went to like a DK dirt circuit dirt jumping thing down in Salt Lake. My friend's dad brought us down there, and it was like the first time I saw Mike Aiken and stuff like that, and
Sick.
seeing those guys do that thing was just like, I want to do this. And then a few years later, that's how I based my whole, that's, you know, I was a bike rider, you know, that was my identity, I guess, let's say.
Yeah.
And because it was my identity, I obviously took it very important. And I mean, especially when you're that age too, you know what I mean? You want to impress people some way or another. And bikes was how I was going to express that, I guess.
Facts. It's like, I don't know. I would imagine like every single person that listens to this can relate to that for sure. Yeah. I think back to it becoming your whole identity. And then it's weird because over the past couple of years, I've kind of at least wanted to move past that where it is because everything BMX has been my entire identity for so long.
Yep.
That it's like, all right, what do you do after? It's like you hear all those stories of like athletes or, you know, professional musicians that can't find happiness after they retire or get done with their stuff. And it's an interesting thing. So what do you think your identity now?
I'm getting pretty close to 40 over here, and I don't want to stop. But I think it's for that reason. You know what I mean? It's there's just nothing you can, I'm sure a lot of people and there's just nothing as exciting as being able to go out and ride. And I think it's just like, there's just so many possibilities. Like you might get the best clip ever. You might get chased by some crackhead. It's just, I mean, it's just, there's nothing as exciting to me. You know what I mean? Nothing gets me that excited as to go try to film a clip. It's at the end of the day, that's it, you know?
What about just riding for the feeling of riding? Because I agree. Like for me personally, I think that filming a clip or filming somebody else doing a clip is the thing I enjoy. I enjoy that more than just doing tricks by myself. Like I'm not going to push myself to do something if I'm not recording it. There's people that do. Like I don't know. You could be one of them.
Well, with that being said too, it's not even like getting a clip. Sometimes for me, if I get out and ride and I get an idea, like I'm just as stoked as like finally a new idea. Like I'm just as stoked on that as getting a clip, because you know how it is. Sometimes the ideas are the harder part. Like once you get the idea, it's like, well, like, okay, I'll just go pound this out 500 times until I land it. But sometimes the idea is harder than the trick, obviously, you know?
This episode is brought to you by Burn Slow. Go to burnslow.co and get yourself some of that butterfly stuff. They just came out with a collaboration with Sunday Bikes, and it's pretty fire. And I'm grateful for the fact that they support the show. So we'll keep it short and sweet. Burn Slow is tight. This shirt is good. Adam Roy's a brilliant graphic artist. I don't know words. And like I said, grateful. So burnslow.co, no promo code. Just go buy some stuff. In today's digital world where we're all connected, but we're not really, it's very important that we keep our in-person institutions alive, like your local bike shop. And Arizona's best local bike shop is Unity Ride Shop. They sponsor a bunch of local riders. They have all the selection that you could possibly ask for, and they'll probably work on your bike for free if you're a BMX homie. But don't tell them I said that. I'm grateful that Unity's been a part of this operation for quite some time. I'm looking forward to doing more stuff with them in the future. And shout out Unity. Go to unityrideshop.com or just go to 43rd Avenue in Bethany Home and check out the store. This episode is brought to you by Dance Comp. Dance Comp is the world's largest BMX online mail order, and they've been a part of the BMX world for quite a long time. I can't believe they've sponsored this show for over a year, so happy 1-year anniversary, I believe. I think. And if you ever need bike stuff, go Go to Dance Comp. Go order some tubes in bulk right now so that you have some tubes to give out to the boys. Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Dance Comp. Send me a script and I'll read it. Back to the show. Especially at the level that you're at, where it's like, do you think of the, like, when you get an idea, what's the criteria that it has to meet? Do you think that in order for a Tate idea to be a good one, it has to exceed everything that you've done in the past? Or how do you know when you've stumbled across a good idea?
You just kind of know it. I've had enough stuff go viral to where a lot of people were interested, and it got a lot of views and stuff like that. And so I kind of am guilty of personally being like, well, it's not good unless it gets a good dose of views. You know what I mean? And I know views don't mean shit, but for me personally, having it multiple times, it's like, well, if it gets, let's just say 30,000 views, it probably wasn't a good idea for me. And I know that is not a good way to look at things.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I to me, a really good idea is when you get a lot of people excited, a lot of people, like, how did you think of that? Or
yeah,
that influenced me to do this or something like that. So that's kind of how I know I get it. And also, like, I genuinely get stoked on stuff, like, idea wise. So it doesn't, there's been some tricks that I've done that didn't get the response I thought they would, but they're still near and dear in my heart. Cause I was like, well, I thought that was a really good idea.
Fuck yeah. It's a balance between, like, if you were in a vacuum and nobody would ever see the things that you were doing, you would do a set of things like this. And then given the context of where we are and going viral and things like that, it changes it a little bit, And
I'm sure you've heard that never make something that you think the audience would like.
Rick Rubin.
Before, right? And I think there's a lot of truth to that too. So yeah, it's hard to say what a good idea is. I don't know.
100%. I'm curious about, there's so many. So, like, first of all, before we move too much further, are you still doing the produce job? What is your job?
Lots changed there. So I'm actually the store director. So I'm running the entire grocery store. So it's, even that alone is pretty, it's pretty demanding mentally and stuff like that.
Sure.
I've definitely got to be on it every day. You're juggling, you got 120 employees,
Oof.
All the inner workings of a grocery store. I definitely have to be on it.
That's interesting position to be in. I can't even imagine. 120 employees is a lot of shit to manage, let alone all the product and all that.
You don't realize. I'm obviously in charge of the day-to-day operations, but sometimes I feel like half my day is just dealing with interpersonal problems and stuff like that. But let's keep it on topic though. I think being a BMX rider has actually made me way better at it than a lot of people.
Why?
I'm typically a little bit younger than most store directors out there. Why? I think it's just having high standards for yourself. And then also, just the knowing how to manage people. And I think that's just from having tons of friends and working with filmers and stuff like that. And then finding things to help motivate people. For example, I'll have, somebody come up to me and whatever problem they're having, my focus is this and I can't focus on work. And then there's been a few times like, hey, did you know what I do outside of work? And it kind of blows their mind, and they kind of hopefully take inspiration, saying like, well, if Tate can do both, I could probably be a little bit better.
Nice.
I don't know if that kind of answers your question, but above all else, just kind of being positive and being able to focus in on things. I don't know.
Yeah. And it does apply to every other industry, and like the experience from, like, I don't know how to say it, but like from accomplishing stuff and climbing up in one industry, you apply that and that goes to everything. Like,
exactly.
I felt that advantage jumping into stand-up comedy for a weird 1 year period of my life, but I saw the similar things of like social groups and what makes somebody good and da 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 and how people act, and it's wild how much education you get just from like chasing the BMX.
Yeah, 100%.
So is it the same store, the one from all the OG videos?
So that was Albertsons. I was working for Albertsons back then. Since then the company's been bought and sold, so I'm currently with Associated Foods. So different store. I've actually been I do move around stores from time to time now that it's kind of a career thing. So right now I'm just down here in Lehi, Utah, which is 30 minutes out of Salt Lake, but every couple of years they typically move store directors. So I'm working in many different stores, if that answers your question. There.
Is there any goals that you have in that aspect of life? Like you're a store director now. Is there any things that you're aiming for?
I mean, as far like it's I got into it when I was 16. And it worked out really good because it was, especially at that stage, I could take a few weeks off at a time to go on filming trips and stuff like that. So it's worked out really good up into this point. I've been doing it long enough that it's taking care of me, insurance and all that stuff that comes with being an adult.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, after I'm done with BMX, I would like to just keep climbing the ladder. I'm pretty happy with where I've got to so far though, being able to do both. I feel like I'm on the right track. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I would be a little nervous if I was only making money from BMX. And I mean, I did it for a little while. It's scary. I respect people that do that. That's totally respectable. I always was kind of like, you know what, I'm going to have my side gig. And in some ways I think it prolonged my career though. Cause I just was kind of in a routine, you know what I mean? I work 5 days a week, film 2, trip here and there, but I was never feeling like I had to put out a video part to keep a check coming or anything like that. You could argue maybe it's better that some people do that. It pushes you, lights a little fire. But for me, I guess I could say I was able to keep creative control over what I have always done on bikes because I didn't necessarily rely on the money coming from BMX. Does that make sense?
I think that's super wise, and I don't know if somebody's listening who actually has the BMX dream, take note because that's very real.
Yep.
What was
at this day and age too? I mean, obviously BMX goes up and down, but I don't know. I mean, I would tell a kid if they think they can make a full-on living doing just BMX, at least try it. You know what I mean? Worst comes to worst, you'll have a side job. I don't know.
I remember Kyle Carlson taking me on a trip to Vegas in like 2008 or 2009. And then at the end of the trip, he was like, Kanode, don't quit your day job. I was like, oh, I was like, screw you, dude. I'm going to make it in BMX.
Yep. Well, here we are now, Bobby. We're doing all right.
Dude, we made it. Was there ever a moment where you were like, now I did it. I made it in BMX?
Yeah, for like maybe when I've had some parts come out that like I was really proud of and I got good feedback, and then you know how it is, you're stoked for a week and then you're like, all right, what's next? And then you feel like you suck again and you start stacking up the marbles again. So I can't know. And I think when I've got older in age too, I've realized you're never gonna make it and be done and be where you want to be. You know what I mean? That's life.
Exactly. It's pretty. I remember that feeling of putting out my first DVD. That was, if anything, my moment of like,
yep,
all right, done. But then literally a month, a couple weeks, a couple days, just like, oh shit. A couple of days later, it's like, all right, let's go again.
You're kind of riding that high for a little while. Then I don't know, but I mean, obviously, there's been milestones that I look back to be like that. That like felt what? Cool. Like that part came out, or I got a signature frame, or whatever. Like, I think you just kind of got to be happy knowing that there's highs and there's lows. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's funny because you can go from feeling like you're the best, and then personally, I'll go like 2 weeks, be striking out and ideas, and think I'm like the shittiest bike rider on planet Earth again. You know what I mean? So I can And I've definitely learned. I mean, just sometimes when I'm like really thinking I should just quit, That's when like the best idea bubbles up, because I don't know if it's I've lost the ego, or maybe I'm subconsciously desperate for ideas. I don't know what it is, but I feel like some of my best ideas have just coming out of a couple week period where I've just been striking out on stuff, and then something just comes along that's like, oh, okay, that worked.
There it is.
And then a few days later, I'm back to, you know what I mean? So
get the idea done, and then
yep.
Yeah, what a never-ending cycle. It's amazing. But speaking of milestones, like take me through, the 5 most important ones in chronological order. What was your, like in BMX, what was your first moment of like, fuck yeah, milestone?
I'd probably say maybe my shook break the tape part. That was like the first time I was in a DVD or anything like that. From that, I would say my that's it part, which was a little, I think by then I was kind of coming into my style. I was always really proud of the volume. I did a volume web edit that led to me getting a signature frame through them. I was really proud of that one. And then let's just skip to a little bit later. I think my headlights part's probably my favorite part I filmed.
Hell yeah. Of all time?
I would say, yeah.
Yeah.
And then, maybe getting a complete bike through GT. I don't know. There's some different milestones. That's
kind of recent.
I hope that kind of answers it for you there.
Yeah, no, that was perfect. That was kind of recent, the complete bike, right?
Yeah.
Like, when did that happen?
That was, I think we had it for about a year and a half, 2 years.
2 years ago it happened?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that was something I wrote down. We should talk about GT. I'm watching your break the tape part right now, though. All right, we'll talk about GT in a second. I want to show people this.
Careful, man. That's some interesting style going on back there, huh?
That's pretty. It's pretty on brand for the time. I remember the.
Yeah, I remember this was 2006, 7 maybe.
That checks out.
2000. Yeah, I can't remember exactly.
The skinny jeans, the swoop of the hair, the striped sweater, dude. I love it. Swag. What was life like for you back then?
Just I had a lot more time to ride bikes, less responsibilities. A lot of bikes, let's just say.
How did an opportunity like this come up? Like, who is filming this?
Big shout out to my friends where I grew up in Ogden. We were making little videos and stuff like that. And
OGCG?
OCGC, yep. And Elf saw some of the video parts and asked if I'd be willing to film with him, and I was like, okay, like let's do it. And we ended up doing this in I'd say 6 months, filmed it basically.
Sick.
But I mean, it was just really cool to me that was like the first one that was in a DVD that was distributed and stuff like that.
Yeah, 100%.
Wasn't as simple as the web video back then or anything like that.
YouTube barely existed and nobody knew what it was in 2006 or 7. And like the industry of BMX DVDs still worked. I remember Shook was one of my first, like, oh my God, no way. Like Drew Hasselton had a part in Brain Blasted or something, I think. And I actually got a clip in the credits of a Shook video. I can't find it. I don't know which one it is.
It's kind of funny how like a clip in the credits section when you're at that point of your career, might as well have the last part. You know what I mean? Like it's the gradual.
It's like, no way, I fucking made it, dude.
Yep. But I think Shook was really cool too, because I was already a fan of the Shook videos before I was offered to do something with it. And it just blew my mind. Like, because, I mean, shout out to Shook I feel like you really got a pretty good taste of a lot of stuff going on in those. You know what I mean? Just different scenes and stuff like that and different writers and whatnot. So.
I remember thinking that Chad Shackelford was just going around and filming every single clip that was in a Shook video.
No, they did it when you were kids, man, right?
You could have people submit footage. Cool. Where do we go from there? There's GT. I want to know about the early days and like what it was like filming with the OG crew. You pick. Choose your own. It's like Goosebumps. You pick your own podcast.
Filming with what crew?
The OG crew.
Oh, the OCGC?
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
Like, what's the first, taste of filming on BMX for you?
Nick Fletcher and Ben Williams were my two filming friends, basically. So not to get too into it, but I grew up in a super small town in northern Utah, and Ogden was about 20, 30 minutes away. So there was like literally no street where I grew up. There like not even curbs. It was, like a little mountain town type thing. And so I started going down to Ogden and riding with those guys, which was a city, you know what I mean? So, and by then I'd been watching, animal videos and stuff like that. And I wanted to be a street rider. So we just went around Ogden, just filming our thing, doing our thing. Both Nick and Ben were like, I think we were all influenced by Beringer, obviously. So we had no problem kind of, being goofballs and stuff like that. And we just filmed little video parts and stuff like that. And definitely caught the attention of some people. Looking back, for what it was, I guess it was pretty cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's incredible. Cause like you're from small town, get good enough at something to make a impact and be seen. But I think for some people it's not obvious. Like I think a lot of people might not know about the Beringer effect in Utah, and like elaborate on that. Like how were you impacted by the legendary Mr. Beringer?
Well, obviously magazines were a big thing there, and Matt was getting tons of coverage. I think he obviously filmed the beginning, his video he did. Did you ever see that one?
I don't think I have.
Oh yeah.
The beginning?
Yeah, I'll try to find it. I'm sure it's on YouTube. No, Maddie's got 20 copies somewhere. You could send us one too. But it was like a local Utah BMX video that he filmed. But the thing I liked about Matt is Matt was just always himself. You know what I mean? He had no problem being Matt Beringer. It was just Matt being Matt. And I was always really just inspired, like, oh, if Matt can do it, maybe there's room for me to do my stupid little thing over here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
I feel like he always.
Hold on.
Always.
You're up. It's $90 on Amazon to get the VHS, dude. I love it.
$90.
Yeah. The Beninging.
Dude, Matt's cashing in. Is that like a vintage seller or something like that?
I don't know what the hell's going on. Used from 89.45 VHS tape. Yeah, I would fucking love to see this. What a star-studded. That's
yeah, dude. Yeah.
Beringer, Fuzzy Hall, Panty.
Obviously, like Elf was a big part of, he had a section there and stuff like that. But I don't know. I just feel like Matt took it upon himself to think of that iconic picture in his garage when he's wearing all yellow and painted the garage yellow. Like, I feel like he was willing to do like a dumb idea to make a cool photo. And that was what stood out to me more than anything with Matt is he'd go at great lengths to get an idea done.
That's inspiring.
And be over the top with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think a lot of people have like something in their head, like telling them, no, don't do that. People will judge you as being stupid or whatever. Oh, yeah. And they don't do anything.
Yep.
But that's a really good way to live. It's just like, I have an idea. It might be kind of stupid, but let's do it.
Dude, that is 90% of my writing career.
Oh, yeah.
It's I don't know. I've especially nowadays, I kind of film with a small crew. I've never been like a big crew guy. Nothing shuts me down faster than like the feeling of making 6-7 dudes wait on a trick that's going to maybe take me an hour. You know what I mean? I like to be ideal situation, go film something with one person and then be like, dude, next week I'll film you for 4 hours. Like, I'll get you back. Like, I hate that feeling of feeling like I'm making people wait on my dumb ideas.
Yep. You and I would be a good match, dude. I'm the exact same because I've never been good. And if I'm filming something, it's going to take me a long time, but I'm going to do it. And I thank you for your patience. And I'll get back, If
I can too, like I'm getting better at it, but I'd even much rather self-film something. Some of my dumb ideas when my wheels fall off and come back in, I almost prefer to self-film those.
Yeah.
Because I can try a trick for four hours, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
But what hurts me the most is making somebody wait that long from time to time. You know what I mean? Like, I'm more focused on them having a shitty, just, this guy's been filming me for 2 hours. I feel so shitty about that I'm like lose concentration on the trick. So
100%.
And luckily I do work with good people that understand that, like, you know, Mastroni, Elf in the Past and stuff like that. So I've been around good people that are willing to do that for me, but I hate that feeling of making people suffer at my expense, you know?
Can you think of an example of like a filmer that just does not want to fuck with you after filming with you? That's a dramatic way to phrase it, but you know what I mean? Like there's the homies like Mastroni that are there for it. But I imagine you've had a couple experiences where it's like, oh yeah, probably never filming with that person again.
I mean, I remember like different maybe team managers over the past. For example, I know Chris Long was filming volume stuff for a while, and not that he was ever rude to me or anything like that, but I could kind of tell that he didn't quite understand my vision for it. You know what I mean?
Yep. He popped in my head as soon as I finished asking the question. I was like, probably Chris Long.
But I don't know. I think sometimes a lot of my parts that have done good, I've definitely filmed stuff with people and known for a fact that like I don't quite get it. They don't know if the clip's good or not. And then, you know, a year later when it comes together in the video part, people have been really stoked on it. And I hope maybe they could look back like, oh, I thought he was an idiot back then, but like I do see the big picture now, you know what I mean? But
yep.
sometimes you just really got to believe in yourself, because you're not always going to get like somebody think, oh, that's so cool. Like I've definitely been in situations where just like, just trust me, like this is part of the plan, you know what I mean? And it's come together more times than it hasn't. But I've definitely been in uncomfortable situations thinking like, I know they do not get where I'm trying to go with this.
Yeah. That's a really good point, in that the believing in yourself, like despite, because it is so dependent. It's just like,
Yep.
I'm not sure if this is cool. Do you think it's cool? And then they're like, yeah, fuck yeah. And then it's like, all right, it's cool. But
yep. And 9 times out of 10, they're going to tell you it's cool. You know what I mean? Sometimes even if they say oh yeah, it's cool, you kind of know, like,
you can feel it.
You just got to believe in yourself for sure. So
yeah,
believe in yourself out there. Anybody that's, I don't know. I feel like my best ideas, I usually get them when I'm writing by myself, and then I'll kind of mold them a little bit over the next few days. And I think, yeah, I kind of have to be in a comfortable spot to get the idea. And then sometimes at least to be in an uncomfortable situation when you're trying to execute it. But it is what it is, you know?
Yeah. Earlier, you talked about finding the time and getting out by yourself at night. What does that look like? Are you pedaling around your neighborhood? Are you driving somewhere to go explore?
I usually drive somewhere and park. That time of night, I'm not getting too far from the house, you know, maybe a 20-mile radius around my house, but there's plenty of stuff to visit and revisit. I have noticed, because before I had kids, I would come home, eat food, and go right out and ride after work, get out at like, 7.
Yeah.
At 10 o'clock, I have noticed I don't get a lot of ideas. Huh. My brain is pretty toasted at that point. Not to say I don't get ideas. I still will get some time and again, but not like it used to be when I get out after work. But I do feel like just doing that work and going out and riding on my Sundays or whatever, my brain is just like so charged when when I have the full day to dedicate it to, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I think it's from putting those reps in, but like after working all day, coming home, helping with the kids, get a quick workout in, whatever, I'm just so tired that on the days that I ride and I'm actually filming, starting fresh at 11 a.m. or whatever, when we get out, like I feel like I can run through a brick wall half the time or something like that. You know what I mean? Just like so full of energy, because I'm so used to riding when I'm exhausted sometimes.
Yeah.
So I think it definitely helps. And every once in a while, like I said, when I'm out later at night by myself, I will get an idea and I'm like, all right, this is where we're going to kind of start focusing for the next couple of days or whatever. So
for sure.
So I rambled on that one a little bit.
No, you're good. It's interesting to think about that process. And just as you get older, just on the note of like when creative ideas come, when is the most fruitful part of your day for BMX ideas? Are you thinking about it at work?
Sometimes. I used to a lot more when I was just an hourly guy, and I, could zone off while I'm filling the bananas or something like that. But I'm running around answering so many questions throughout the day that not as much as I used to. Every once in a while, I'll have, an hour while I'm doing something and I'm not bothered too much, and my brain automatically goes there. But most of the time I'm getting bounced around so much. But most of my ideas are on the days that I'm writing all day. Let's not say after work. I usually get them right when I start writing, like right off the bat. And if they don't come right off the bat, it's usually kind of a last minute thing, end of session thing. The last minute thing, it's always kind of like I haven't really gotten ideas, and maybe I just start getting a little more desperate and throwing a little more shit at the wall. And sometimes I'll just get those last minute ideas like, oh, okay.
Walk me through, like, it, just for example, like if it's the end of a session, you're at a spot with a ledge and a whatever. I don't know. Like, walk me through give me an example of coming up with an idea. Like how are you thinking? Are you thinking from spot? Are you thinking from, okay, I have mag wheels now and I want to put something through it. I can slide her through a pole, which is, give me an example of like what it looks like when you're coming up with an idea.
I do improv a lot. Let's just use the mag wheel one, for example. When I put the pipe through that, Mike and I were riding a spot, and we was on a bank, and they were doing something to an irrigation system at a nearby church, and so those pipes were ripped up and out of there. And the idea just kind of got popped in my head, like, could you make one of those like go through your mag wheel if you slid backwards? And started messing with it, and within 30 minutes it actually worked. You know what I mean?
Sick.
I have plenty of ideas that the idea will just pop into my head, and then it takes a few days or weeks to actually figure out the mechanics of making it work. But I do improv a lot more than I think people think that I do. But then I've also got a bunch of like subconscious ideas that are floating around in my head. And then sometimes when I see the right thing, it just instantly pulls it. And it's like, oh, that's the idea right there, basically.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like, can you give me examples of some of the things that are kind of floating around? Maybe ones that have already been done, or something you're willing to share that is just like a piece of an idea?
Like one that I haven't put out yet?
Just whatever you're willing to share. I know that you probably have some ideas that you're going to protect, but just for an example of this piece wasn't complete until I found this spot,
Gotcha. Let me think for a sec. Sorry, Bobby. I'm trying to think.
Oh yeah, you're chilling. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna pause this, and we'll be right back. I'm gonna go to the bathroom. And we're back. Welcome back to Kanode Knows with Tate Roskelley. We've got an answer for you guys.
So I mean, let's just use this as an example. I got into doing like the seat grinds. I'm sure you've seen the ones when I get backwards, and the only spot I could do it on was a rail with no rungs, and then I found that rail that had the rungs that were sticking out kind of like this, and it was just like, all right, here, because I've been looking for a long one, but I just didn't know how I was going to find a long rail without uprights in it. And by chance I found that one that was shaped just right, and it was just automatically like, that's the trick for this spot. Like,
yeah, no
questions asked.
That's a great example. Just like, I can grind on my seat, and then you find the limitations, and then work around those and find the blessed opportunity. What do you think has been, I mean, you've done a lot of stuff, but if I said the most lucky, happenstance, magical situation, what would you say it is?
That I just like, it lined up and worked easy?
Yeah.
Oh man.
That's an interesting one to.
Sorry, Bobby. I'm trying to give you a good answer there. But
like, for example, you find that rail. Hold on, is there an echo going on? Can you? Let's see. All right, we're fine. We're back. No time has passed.
We're back. Okay.
So yeah, magic moment. Can you think of one?
I mean, I feel like I have a lot of magic turning points to where it's just like I'm in it trying to film it, and then I'll just be like, well, what if I just try this and it'll work? Like, For example, when I did that grind on the red curb and I had a wheel pop up out of the gutter and it pops back into my tire. Do you remember that one that I'm talking about?
It's like vague in my head.
Yeah. That was one of the ones that I was way over complicating how I was going to do it. And I was trying other things. And I finally realized, like, what if I have Cam just pull a string and I string it this way to where it just puts all the tension to pop straight up. And like within 20 or 30 tries, it just worked. You know what I mean? So there's just a lot of little turning points. For another turning point was, remember the kickflip thing I did?
Yeah.
I was trying that with the string for a long time. And then I realized like I needed a little bit of give, and just simply switching to a bungee made the difference within a couple hours. It's just
where is that one?
Little details.
Let's pull some of these up. Which part should I pull up?
Video part or
or if it's not a video part, just on Instagram.
Oh, okay. A lot of my stuff is on. Maybe we could get into that. A lot of my stuff is on Instagram as of lately.
I don't blame you. I feel like that's the easiest way to have people see it, you know?
Yep.
What are your thoughts on that? I remember I was listening to your come up interview and you guys were talking about.
Yeah, I mean, it's
a shame, but videos still have their place.
It's cool when you can have a video go viral, but then there's so much dumb shit that goes viral on Instagram. Like, who cares really? You know what I mean? Like, there is something that I totally respect about doing a video part, but my biggest thing right now is I don't have the luxury to ride with the same filmer all the time. And like, sometimes I can go a couple weeks and not see Mastroni or whoever. And so I feel like it's been easier for me to just, be able to hand anybody a phone and let the idea just get out there immediately.
Yeah.
I do think I will definitely film one more video part before I retire. But for now, it's fun to just, get one idea and do whatever it takes to get that idea executed and then move on to the next. You know what I mean? I think with the video part, I'm always trying to kind of think of, in a way, keeping them all coherent in a way. Sorry, I rambled off there, Bobby.
No, you're chilling, dude. It's I'm distracted just watching these clips, honestly. I'm like, oh shit. I think that topic of videos versus Instagram is an interesting one. And I used to be in the camp of being jaded and being like, don't post that on Instagram. But I've come full circle to where I'm out filming for my video, mediocre at best. But I'm like, you can legitimately post this if you wanted to. Like, the iPhone clip. I don't think it harms anything at this point, and it only helps. Like, it's part of, I don't know, the whole.
There's just so many people are using it. If you do want your stuff to get out, that's where it's gonna.
They're waiting for it,
Exactly. And I know there's a lot that comes with that, whether it's the pure thing to do. I mean, who cares? Do whatever you want. But it's worked really good for me over the past couple of years because I've been able to continuously put stuff out, no matter who I'm working with my schedule being all over the place sometimes. So I guess at the end of the day, just find out what works for you and go with it, whether that's sections or Instagram, whatever.
Do you ever have like I'm curious, because like when you first get your taste of virality, did you ever have like a sleazy agent come up to you and be like, listen, kid, you got
Yeah. I think one of my first videos to go viral was the is this the most creative writer ever, the on some shit video. And that was kind of cool because I got some commercial gigs out of that, being the stunt writer in commercials and stuff like that.
Fuck yeah.
So I've definitely got like the cool side of some of that stuff, but absolutely, I mean, I would say I get offered to license pretty much any Instagram thing I put up. I know a lot of people do, but yeah, I've definitely had some people reach out and the more I look into it, the creative freedom is very important to me. So I've always stayed away from that.
Yeah, that's interesting. Somebody said they wanted to license your footage. So like buy your footage off of you.
Yeah.
To use it.
Yep.
Can you say who? And for
what? it was one of the ABC morning shows. I think it was like Right This Minute. They've bought stuff from me. Like, don't get me wrong, I've sold clips that end up on those like
Sick.
TV shows. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah. What does that look like? You sell a clip to ABC. How much did you make?
I think it was $200.
Let's
They're
go.
not paying you a lot. No, at least me. I can't speak.
Dinner's on Tate.
That. But I mean, it's kind of one of those things. Like it's an easy, like you fill out a form, and usually they'll pay you if they use it, and so sometimes you see it. But I mean that has happened a few times. So I guess that's kind of cool when you have a clip that.
Yeah, it's fucking interesting. It's some shit you tell your parents like, yeah, mom, my BMX was on ABC. That's pretty wild.
Yeah, it's been cool. Some of those moments, especially at first when I first had a few things like that happen, I thought that was really cool. I mean, it still is. I don't know. It's
part of it. It's not like
sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought there, but no, it's definitely cool. I mean, I've definitely like been at work and people have come in like, dude, my wife saw you on TV, and was like, sick. Oh, cool.
Honey, that's Tate.
And let's not forget, you're always in like the stupid little human trick section. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It's still cool.
Where else did it go? It's a silly thing that we do. We do tricks on BMX.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I think people get so wrapped up in this world, and then all you're looking at is other BMX riders, and then you kind of get this attitude of like, I don't know, jaded. But at the end of the day, it's literally doing tricks on a bicycle that's made for kids 20 inches. It's fucking ridiculous. So
I do my best not to forget that. Keeps you humble. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So from here, let's do a segment of speed running your career, if you're willing to call it that. It's a career in BMX, but like I'm talking I learned how to ride because of this, and then I got sponsored because of this. I got to go here and then here and see if you can compact your career as quick as possible. I think that's fun. That's the first time doing this.
Let's go here. So started out in a small town in Utah, started riding little dirt jumps and stuff like that. Saw some street riding videos, thought that was way cooler. Started riding with the Ogden guys. I think my first sponsor, I was on Fit for a little while. It was just a flow thing. And then Rob Wise was on Volume, and he got me on Volume, and Volume turned into I'd say 7 or 8 years on Volume. It was a good run on Volume. And then after Volume, started riding for GT. Obviously we all know what happened with the GT, unfortunately. So I've come full circle, and I am sponsored by Nineyard Clothing. Shout out to them. But other than that, no bike sponsor or anything like that. But it's not going to change too much. Like we talked about, it's 2 a.m. So we'll see what happens next.
That's interesting. That's a GT bike right there. Fucking.
Oh, nice. You were on GT for a while, Kanode.
That was my first sponsor, dude.
Yep, absolutely.
My first, your last, and now they're up out of here. What is the deal with GT?
So in a nutshell, the parent company that owns them basically put the brand on pause. So it's not like they're still making anything, and it's not, I'm sure the brand will come back. It's got a really good name, you know what I mean? Like, especially for the era that it was big, but it's basically just on pause. So they're not making parts, stuff like that. Obviously they're not doing a team.
So the whole of GT bicycles is on pause, or just BMX?
As far as I know, it's pretty much the whole thing. Yeah. So, and I don't know, maybe they sell those licensing off to another company, and another company will come in and breathe life to it again. I don't know. Obviously we need to have Xeon to really break it down as best way possible. But yeah, so I mean, it was a bummer deal, but I mean, it didn't hurt too bad, because I mean, if it was like Z coming up and being like, Tate, we can't sponsor anymore, you know, you're too old, tricks are too dumb, like that would hurt a lot more. But I mean, it was just a shitty situation. nobody that worked there did any of us wrong. I mean, they were all blindsided by it too. So it's one of the things that sucks, but it's not like there's any ill will on anybody that I cared about there. So it's kind of just like, well, it is what it is. In fact, I had Z, he sent me a bunch of parts just to stock up on, basically just good luck with whatever's next. So
Sick.
I've got bikes and stuff. So, I mean, it will be interesting to see what happens next. I guess we could go into this a little bit, but sometimes I think I've gotten a little too weird for mainstream BMX at times. You know what I mean? Like,
yes,
I definitely feel like, I mean, like let's just think of like a mainstream street rider, like whoever it might be, like they're not going to watch my shit and be like, oh, I'm going to go do that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's true.
But I mean, but at the same time, I just still see people using my ideas. And so I just don't know. I don't know if I'm necessarily going to have a sponsor come knocking. I don't know, but at the same time, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing because it's at this point my favorite. It's always been my favorite thing to do, but 100%. I still feel like, I guess I should say this. I still feel like I've got something to give.
Nice. Yeah. I think that sponsor topic is interesting. Thinking about, is it up to you to be proactive and find yourself a sponsor, or should it just happen organically? Because I'm of two minds there. Like with the podcast, I reached out, I made it happen.
Mm-hmm.
Versus on BMX, it kind of happened, and then I made some things happen from that, but I didn't like proactively go out and get it done. Interesting. Do you have any plans to do some marketing for yourself or some like outreach?
My plans for marketing for myself are just film cool videos. That's always how I've done it. I've never tried to get, I mean, I've tried to be a good sponsored rider, but I've never tried to get it. Basically, it always kind of just happened organically. So I think all I can do is just do my best to keep coming up with ideas and filming things like that. That's all I can worry about. Yeah. And with where I'm at in my career and family and stuff like that too, I'm well aware that I couldn't go on a week trip once every couple of months. You know what I mean? Like it is what it is. I'm just lucky to be able to have my Sundays to get out and film. You know what I mean? So it'll be fun no matter what happens. Like it hasn't changed my mental approach. Like I haven't lost any sort of motivation or anything like that. And in fact, I don't know about you, Bobby, but I've never necessarily been motivated to ride because I was sponsored. It was always something a little more personal. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I know a lot of us are like that. It's nothing special, but it might kind of even help my creative control a little bit more, not having to worry about.
Honestly, yeah. My thought there is like I remember treating getting sponsored almost like a finish line. Like I went so hard, I cared so much, and then I got sponsored, and then I was like, I'm cool. I don't need to do much. And it's fucking wrong, dude. That was a mistake.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing. But yeah, I think Team Pup and Suds, Tate, Roskelley will be a good era.
Oh, soul skater over here, Bobby. You know it.
Skater. I just a thought that I had. It's not really a question, but like speaking of people watching tape footage and then getting stoked to go do it, I have been tripping because there's a clip that I want for my section where it's a slider, and at the end of the slider I go down 3 stairs, and so I've been thinking about you for a couple of years now, off and on, of just like
gotcha,
do it. And I went and I tried to just slider off of a curb and keep sliding, and it was one of the hardest things I've ever tried to do. I didn't do it, and I was just like, I guess I can't do this. How do you slide it downstairs? It's fucking insane.
The biggest thing is don't get too far out. You know, in a slider, you're typically like getting back on your bike.
Yeah.
As soon as your back wheel goes down as soon as your front wheel's going into the steps, get back up over the bars a little bit. Otherwise, you'll get bucked off. And when you get up over the bars, it is hard to explain, but it'll control you better. Huh. And another thing is too, the first 2 or 3 stairs with the front tire are going to be like, you're going to feel like this is impossible. But once you get a few in, it like just kind of sets itself and it gets smoother. I know that sounds weird, but
no, it makes sense.
Get in there and trust it and get up over the bars a little more and you'll do it. I promise you. And I know you're good at sliders.
Do it off of a curb, and then I go and watch your clips of doing it down a double 10 stair, double 10 set. It's fucking ridiculous.
No, once you can do 3, Bobby, it doesn't matter how many more. Just trust me. Just get over the bars a little bit.
All right, good plan. You know, I literally gave up on that trick. I was just like, I'm just not going to do it for my part, but maybe there's hope. Maybe we
ever do stuff like a long time ago and look back and being like, how the hell did I do that?
Yes.
I used to do that trick with like a cassette hub.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think my first one I did was in That's It.
That
don't looking back, it was just like, that just sounds like you're asking. Because it is a little scary because like I've got popped on those before and it does send you like backwards really quick. And so I'm just like, what the hell was I thinking doing that with a cassette hub? But
you want to jump backwards downstairs with your
exactly.
That's a good way to do it. Where do we go from here? I guess I could refer to my notes, but what are you thinking about? What do you think? Oh, here's one. Fucking congrats on you got kind of on the 9 Club. It was fun to watch that segment.
Oh yeah.
The thing that stuck out to me was he corrected his homie. They said bikers, and then he was like, "No, BMXers." And I wanted to ask you, how do you think of us? Are we bikers or are we BMXers?
I'd have to say we're BMXers, but with that being said, like I don't think it would surprise anybody. Like I watch a lot of like everything to get inspired. You know what I mean? Like skateboarding, snowboarding. Like, I mean, I'm a BMXer, but I wouldn't limit my inspirations to just BMX.
You ever watch any roller skaters?
You know what? John Tinsley always sends me some pretty fire rollerblade clips.
Sick.
And if it's cool, man, I don't care what it is. I can get behind it. So
same, dude. I see these dudes that are out there doing tricks on the little spin wheels, the little things that are, it's just, you can do tricks on anything. It's pretty cool.
Yep.
Pretty cool to see. Oh, I was going to ask GT on the subject of GT, what has been your favorite memory with them and the team over the past couple of years? It's a shame that it's over, but what was the highlight for you?
Probably filming Wait What, which was one of the sections I did for him. The one thing that I really appreciated about GT is they kind of let me be me. They knew I was working a lot and stuff like that. And especially in the last couple of years having kids, they were very good at just letting me kind of do what I do and come up with my stuff. Kind of goes back to what you're talking about earlier, but like I put so much pressure on myself that a lot of times it doesn't help me to have extra pressure from a sponsor, because like I'm already trying to do my best stuff, and my best stuff is sometimes doesn't come quick. So them just having patience and working with me, I really respect that. I think Ben Ward and Z kind of knew that's how I work, and they were really cool. It just kind of let me do my thing there.
Fuck yeah. Shout out Ben and Jeff. That's great.
Yeah.
What was it like having Jeff Z as your, well, wait, he was team manager, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
What was it like? I don't know why I doubted myself right there. What was Ben Ward's role? He was team manager, and then Jeff Z was?
He was team manager. Ben was also doing, I think, a little more involved with the design and stuff like that. I
got it.
Can't say exactly. And then Z was a little bit more typical team manager. But with that being said, I know Z was doing a lot of behind the scenes stuff as well. So, but they were awesome. I mean, I think we've all known Z for a long time. It's just, I just always like being able to, not that I hang out with Z a ton, but a few of the times I did go to California to do a shop stop or whatever, it was cool hanging with Z and stuff like that.
It's pretty crazy, because we all, like you say that, we all know Z from day one, like especially our era of magazines being the biggest deal in the world, and Jeff Zielinski. What?
Yeah, it's kind of funny too, because like I'm getting up there now, and just thinking how much more Z has seen over the years than even I have, and it's just like he's just like an encyclopedia of BMX knowledge.
And from what I understand, he can kind of remember stuff too, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
How's your memory?
I'd say it's decent for
Let's
the
go.
most part. Unless I'm on the spot with the camera in my face talking to somebody, then it goes out the window.
Yeah, this is tough. There's been times where I'm interviewing somebody and I'm like, what was the question I just asked? I
Oh,
don't
dude, yeah, I don't know. I hope I'm doing okay for you over here, Bobby, too.
I'd say you're doing fine, Tate.
Thank you. No, and you're doing great, man. So
Thank
yeah,
you.
thank
You
you.
were born in 1985, October 22nd, 1985, which makes you 39 years old, right?
Yes, it does.
Dang.
I don't think a lot of people know that.
I didn't know that until I
Yep.
just Googled it right now. You mentioned it earlier that you're pushing 40.
Yep.
And I was going to ask, how old are you? And I was like, we got the internet right here, dude.
Yes, we do.
When was your first ride on a BMX? Well, Bobby, thanks for asking. I was always drawn to riding bikes ever since I was a kid. I didn't start taking it seriously until I was about 13. The first time my friends and I made a jump. I'm just reading your. That's great. What is Nineyard? I've never heard of Nineyard.
So Nineyard, do you know Fabio Widmer, the mountain bike guy?
Yes.
Well, mountain bike. So this is one of his companies.
Sick.
And they reached out and they've just supported me through clothing for the last 3 or 4 years.
That's
and
awesome.
Their gear is actually really cool, especially because I ride in the cold and whatever a lot. But it's awesome. They'll send me like boxes of clothes every few months. So it's nice to just be able to, you know, feel like you're going to get a clip, pop a fresh tag and have that feeling of feeling, you know, fresh and new.
Nothing better than a pair of fresh pants or a fresh hoodie.
But a lot of their like gear is specifically designed for bicycling. I mean, arguably a little bit more like the mountain bike side of things, but their warm weather stuff or cold weather stuff, it makes a difference having some good gear. Because another thing with only being able to ride on Sundays, Bobby, is it doesn't matter what the weather is on my day off. Like I'm gonna ride, whether it be I don't like indoor skate parks whatsoever. So if it's raining on my day off, I'm going to go ride a parking garage. So it's kind of one of those things I have to just, no matter what the weather is, be ready for it.
And if you have Nine wear, you're prepared for any weather.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm trying to just visualize your riding lately. What has been on your mind? Are you trying to learn something new? Is there anything you're working on that you can tell me about that you're teasing? Or what's been fun for you on your bike lately?
This idea might not work, but we'll talk about it because it could be cool if I can actually make it work. Yeah. And this just kind of goes to show where, so I think half the battle for me is like getting those ruts of like this idea worked and kind of staying in that little like lane of like, well, you know, this works, like my dumb wheels falling off and stuff like that. But I was riding this big long like kind of like the Google fiber pipes that they put down in the ground, you know.
Okay.
And there was,
I don't know how big the Google fiber pipes are.
They're about this big around, and it was about 20 feet long.
Got it.
And I was trying to do something else and the idea wasn't working, so then I was just dicking around while Mike was self-filming something, and I hooked it to my peg and I was just riding around in a big circle, and I could lean into it all hard, and it like, because imagine like a 50-foot 20 pole on like the side of it, so it made it really exactly. So
that's interesting.
So I was driving home and nothing came of the idea, and on my way home the idea just popped into my head, like, what if I put 2 of those on like one on my front peg, one on my back, and find a hill and just ride. And I don't think I could do it with them 15 feet long, but I'm thinking if I cut it down to like 7 feet, could I just like ride and tip over and the pipes would flex and make me do a barrel roll? Does that make sense? I know like, it's kind of hard.
They would flex and then push you the other way and you would barrel roll?
Yeah. So, I mean, if the pipes were out, so here's my bike, the pipes are out this way.
Yeah.
I just rolled and it like basically made me do a barrel roll. I could show you with some straws and a finger bike. So
I have a hard time thinking that that's possible. That's insane.
And you know what though? I mean, I'm with you too. I'm looking for, I need to find 2 more good pipes, because that pipe, I went back to that spot. It was gone. I must have buried it. So as soon as I know exactly the color and everything of the right ones I need. So
Dude,
But I
please
honestly think if I
fucking
could
make that
just
happen.
like,
I'm just trying to visualize you doing a barrel roll. That's
and
incredible.
and it would be like I'm imagining like I think you'd have to be going pretty slow next to stopped, but I mean that's one of my ideas that I'm kind of like, all right, I gotta find the right setup for that. But it's you've also got to find the pipe and the right banking of the hill to make it happen.
Yeah.
So
And like, I don't know, full face helmet and fucking gear, like to just
I was
just
mad. Hopefully it's like a grass bank to at least test it out. We'll see.
Yeah.
So if I can pull that one off, Bobby, I'll give you credit. I'll give you a shout.
How's your flipping game in general? Like I was just trying to visualize doing that, and that seems scary as hell. And I know that you can backflip, kinda. I don't know if I've seen you.
I've never backflipped. Have you backflipped? Did you say?
No, I'm asking you, but no, I've
never backflipped.
But you've done it in a bush. I've seen you do it in a bush. So
I've actually done them on some like track and field mats, and I can hit them and basically flip enough to where I've always kind of landed on my back a little bit, but I was watching one recently that is, if I just manned up, I think I could smash into one of those and do a straight front flip, but I seem to do it. But I'm never a strong flipper, to answer your question.
Yeah. And then like riding wise, I mean, you can tell from the earlier parts, it's a bit of street influence, but did you have a period of time where you were like a park rider, learning all the tricks? Like
never. I always just hated the way like riding a crowded indoor skate park or skate park, just like nothing killed my creative urge faster than like waiting to like take a run or something like that. So it's never been my thing. And I think it's always because I've just like to feel kind of like nobody's watching me and I can experiment with my dumb little ideas all by myself. As soon as I feel like there's people that are watching me, I'm just like, I instantly just shut down. So
that's real.
Yep.
Who were some of your influences early on? Like,
I know you ask, and I wanted to be somewhat prepared here. I mean, some of the big ones were like, I think Rap. I remember seeing Rap Boy video parts, and there was something about what he was doing that he wasn't jumping and stuff. I was never a great jumper, but it's something that he was doing just seemed a little more attainable to me. So obviously, like Rap Boy was a big influence. We touched on Beringer. Jim Selinsky was a big one. I thought he was always doing cool stuff, like using his head. Stephen Hamilton, like Animal Days, like really like made me look at things different.
What about stay on Jim for a second? What videos, if somebody doesn't know about the legend of Jim Selinsky, what videos would you tell them to watch?
Obviously electronical, right?
But that feels like later in his career, like early MC type thing.
Gosh, I could pull them up, so I don't know the names off the top of my head, but I watched them all as a kid multiple times.
Yeah, we'll move on. We'll come back to Jim C.
Okay.
Videos. So Jim C, Matt Beringer, Rap Boy. Then you said
Hamilton. Ian Schwartz was always a big one to me too. I always thought what he was doing was really cool.
Ian's in my heart forever.
Yep. And I know this one, like always. So here's one. Let's talk about this for a second. Jason Levy, right?
Yeah.
I remember my friend being like, I think you're going to like this dude's part, and showing me, and I was literally like, this is the coolest shit ever. Like,
yes.
And sometimes when I have all these really stupid ideas that I feel like, are people just going to think I'm trying too hard and it's over the top? Like, I try to remember like the clip of him riding his bike backwards, shooting the gun. Like, I've seen people see that for the first time, and it's timeless. You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
So it reminds me to like, don't be afraid to throw some over the top ideas out there, because like sometimes those ideas can like live for a long time. You know what I mean? Like, there's just something about his, it was so over the top that like people still, when they first see it, are like, what the hell is this dude doing? Like,
for real.
So that really inspired me too, just to think like
Levy's shit, and I was like, oh my god.
Yep.
And just to think that through, like that mindset thing, I think is important, because it's like obviously that's the positive end of it, is like you've seen people see Jason Levy's clip for the first time, so you know that an overtop thing could impact somebody and make a
Yep.
an impact. But if you go the other direction, the negative, and think, okay, so what would happen if I did something over the top? What's gonna happen if somebody talks shit once or twice? It's like,
Yeah.
nah, it's fine, it's worth.
I mean, I definitely like, I'll still like, I've had some people say some shit about my ideas. You know what I mean? Like, I think there's a lot of BMXers that are like, he's trying too hard. Why did he
Sure,
ruin
you're
the fight
a
to do
totally
that dumb
unhinged
trick?
figure.
Like, but I think I'm actually like, it doesn't really bother me. I think you need to have people saying stuff like that if you're really following your path, and that just comes with it. You know what I mean?
Yep. I'm literally reading a book called The Courage to Be Disliked.
Yep.
It's you gotta.
Hard because I
You
want to
don't
be
have to
liked,
hate
Bobby.
on
We
you,
all
gotta
do.
do it.
But the more I do realize you do need to be willing to just be like, all right, not everybody's going to like this. I'm sure there's some established street dudes out there that think my shit is whack, and I could see it from their point of view, but it's what I like to do, so I'm going to keep doing it, you know?
That's the spirit. That's a beautiful thing. Does that apply anywhere else in your life?
I back to the grocery industry, like I do have a little more. I've had a lot of, like, this last store that I've been running right now, I came in and the people that were already there said I had such a different managing style. I was just a little bit more just interpersonal and stuff like that. And I just didn't, I mean, a lot of, you know what the boss is like, especially in a retail situation, you're supposed to, be unrelenting and demand. But I think just thinking like, well, there's more ways we can get this done. Let's, you know what I mean?
That's beautiful.
I think it helped a little bit.
That's the type of shit. Your case study could be in the business school I went to. Like, it's just
Really?
right.
Okay.
So what did we get? What did Tate take from his creative BMX career and implement into a managerial position? And it's funny because you really, at least nowadays, when you're thinking about a good leader, it's not the one that you describe where it's like distant and fucking demanding and all that stuff. Like, a good leader is somebody like you who like cares but gets.
I also think a good leader is not one that necessarily wants to be a leader either. You know what I mean? So, and just my natural progression in the grocery industry, I've been doing it long enough that I had the experience, and I always gave a shit, so I cared and worked hard, and it just kind of how it gradually like got me closer to the top, and before I knew it, I was running a store. But cool. Here's another thing too, that I mean, knowing that, like, no matter how shitty, because you'll have days that are very stressful, you know what I mean? And the fact that I know, like, no matter what I have to deal here with at work, I'll get 20 minutes to go ride later when I get all my chores done when I get home, and that like helps me cope so much better.
Fuck yeah.
And I think it just having that is as simple as even knowing it's 20 degrees out, but I get to go ride tonight for just a few minutes by myself. Like, it really helps you just kind of not stress out too much at any certain point in time, you know?
I love it. What do you think is like a trick that you look forward to when you have that thought of like, I can't wait to ride? I'm sure it changes over time, but what would you say is your most good feeling trick that you do?
That's hard, Bobby. I can't say one that is like comes right to mind. There's so many different ones.
Like 180 and slider, dude. Like, I'm talking like casual session.
Oh, okay. Always got to do a slider. Always,
yeah.
Yep. Something about, like, it's kind of a funny thing too. Like, sometimes when I first start riding, if I'm riding like let's say a parking garage, because I'm riding a lot of parking garages this time of year, I'll find, you know how there's the ramps in parking garages.
Yep.
I'll go hit a slider and I'll slide for the whole length of the ramp. But what I'm actually doing is I'm like back there and it's like stretching out my back. I do it on purpose. So it's like I'm slidering, but it's like I'm purposely like stretching my back.
Decompressing.
One of my little quirks to get me in the zone.
That's amazing. You're like a yoga teacher. All right, now everybody hop on your bikes, do a 180 and slider down this hill.
Hey, let's talk about this, Bobby. Do you have like a routine or anything like that you have to do before you ride?
Yes. Stretch. What is my routine before I ride? Honestly, I haven't been riding much. I've been just filmer mode.
Were you ever, or a routine before you'd go out on a long filming day, or What got you in the zone to do your thing?
I like that question. That's a good question. I would overthink it. I would freak out. I would do some breathing and then just fucking do it. And then I would try it and then I wouldn't be able to do it. And then an hour in, somebody would say, just fucking lock it in, dude. And then I would lock it in and then I would do it. So, no. Do you have one?
Yeah, it's kind of like, I think all my friends give me shit about it, but I have to eat like, so I basically, let's say I'm going to ride at like, let's say I'm getting out at 1 p.m. Obviously eat breakfast. I have to eat like about an hour before I leave the house. Then I have to take a shower, coffee. I have to have all my things already loaded, stretch and stuff like that. But I guess mainly it's just shower.
That's interesting. The shower.
Yeah. I can't not ride without showering before I go ride. It's something, it's like almost like the second it's like baptizing myself to get into that mindset. You know what I mean? Like,
that's fucking interesting. Why do you think that started? Because that started somewhere.
I don't know, man. I don't know, but it's like, maybe it's wanting to feel my best. And like, I feel like I'm showing up to ride my bike. And this sounds ridiculously stupid, but this is kind of how I think about it. Like, I do feel like sometimes ideas are just gifted to you out of nowhere. So I feel like I've got to show up and be my best for my bike. I know that sounds ridiculously stupid.
No, that doesn't sound stupid.
But I think it like definitely helps because like once I go through that routine of, you know, food, coffee, shower, blah, 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 like I am 100% ready to ride. Like have you ever been around people that necessarily like, oh, I'm just not feeling it right now. Like when I get to the point that I'm riding my bike, I am 100% like I get to that zone every time. Not saying I always get the best ideas, but like I'm always ready to get them and ready to like give it my best effort.
That's good to hear.
I think it's from that routine of like getting my mind ready, I guess.
Yeah, 100%. And that, I mean, I hear that, and that applies to me in certain cases where it's just like, there are times where it's just like, if you do the things like a shower, for example, and then a couple stretches. And for me, it applies to the podcast more than it does for riding. Like I have to cold plunge something like basically getting my dopamine levels up to converse. But I like that. That's pretty funny that you shower because you're just gonna get dirty and sweaty.
Yeah, no, I know, but it's just I can't. I mean, I don't know what it is.
I don't know why I am the way I am, but I am.
Yeah,
I love it.
Here's another funny thing, like I've noticed over time too. Like, like there will be times where I'm like, okay, this idea, like it might be out there, but the idea is there. I'm gonna go film it, and pretty much every time when I'm going to go film it, there's this little part of my brain that's like, come on, dude, this is a stupid idea. Do you really want to do this? Like the filmer's going to think it's too stupid. Like every idea, no matter how good it is, I always have that doubt that comes in right before I go to like try it. But then as soon as I start trying it, it just goes away. So that's like another funny. Have you ever had anything like that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
With almost everything. I have that dickhead voice.
Yeah.
In my head, the judgmental, I don't know where it comes from. Like it's a culmination of like my hipster friends when I was younger that always talk shit on everything. And then wanting so badly to like fit in and be cool. And then being hypersensitive or hyper aware of what everybody else thinks, which is a nightmare. But like the conscious pushing through it has been kind of a blessing, if you will, to like realize and hear people talk about like it is normal and you just have to tell your brain to shut up. You are not your thoughts. You can just witness your thoughts.
Yep.
Which is I think a beautiful thing pushing through.
And I think it's kind of like the better the more you're in that uncomfortable position where you're going to try a new idea, whether it's bikes or life or work, whatever, like kind of knowing when that voice is going to pop into your head.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, here he comes.
Hey, I'm about to go pull the trigger. I got my car loaded up with 5 milk crates and whatever other dumb things. Like, I know that voice is going to be like, people already think you're stupid and ride too many milk crates. Why are you doing this? And it's just like, I just have to kind of, but it's also funny too. Like when I do self-film things, it's extremely uncomfortable, especially if I'm trying like one of the will things of like when I start filming, like knowing people are watching me if I'm at a park or something like that.
It's pretty funny.
And dude, you should have seen some of the funny interactions I've had trying to film with my tire bouncing around.
Yeah.
I've had a dude walk up to me once with pliers and was just like, do you want a pair of pliers so your tire quits falling off? But like whenever I start doing it, I feel ridiculously stupid. And once I'm like trying to film it once I'm in like 5 minutes, I am completely like, don't even know they're there. You know what I mean? It's just funny how you can get into something and it's be uncomfortable for a second. And then once you're zoned in, lasered in, it's like, you don't care after all. So
dude, it's so funny thinking about you doing a trick where your wheel falls off just over and over again. And then there's this couple walking in the park.
Oh, dude.
The husband says to the wife, like, look at this poor kid. He must be special needs. He can't figure out how to
I won't even make eye contact. And I just don't even, because you can just see the bewildered, like, you just know that they're like, is this dude crazy or like what?
This kid's kind of retarded.
Yep.
Oh shit.
And you hear people say some funny things too. Like I was trying it once at a skate park when I was first trying to kickflip idea, and there was these like little scooter kids, and I could hear them like, what is he doing over there? It's just kind of funny. Like these little 15-year-olds think I'm a dork, but who cares?
Who cares? I want to know about your marriage. You said I think it was off the record that you told me that you guys have been together for 10 years and married for a few.
Yeah.
7? Yeah. No, you were together 7 years.
Oh shit! You're gonna get me in
First of
trouble.
all, how'd you meet her?
Tinder.
Hell yeah. Cool. Wait, was there previous Tinders or is it 100%?
Oh, this was like right when it came out. This was like 2015, 16. No, I'm gonna get in trouble. Hope she skips over this.
You're batting 1,000 on Tinder. Just boom.
Exactly.
And then together for 7 years before you proposed. What was the holdup, if there was any?
I mean, we were just both happy and stuff like that. We weren't necessarily trying to. I mean, once we decided that we wanted kids and stuff like that, you know what I mean? It's time to get the state involved and everything. So that's not the only reason. I don't know. I'm your typical guy. I'm just like, I don't care if we're married or not. Like,
yeah, it's not even like really thinking about it, just taking it day by day. But I think like when it comes to that's where I heard somebody talking about marriage in that like it's an institution developed almost for the children. Like you don't have to be married to have a happy relationship with somebody, but like for the kids, you want to be.
Oh yeah, for insurance and all that stuff. Yep.
How did you propose, Mr.? If you think about Mike's all crazy, what was your proposition or your proposal?
I'll in a nutshell, the first time I tried failed miserably. I'll make this quick. So I had Mike help me, and we went out to the salt flats, and I already had the ring, and I wanted to be like, oh, it'd be funny if I scared her because she knows I'll do dumb things. And so I basically told her that we went out and buried the ring in the middle of the salt flats, and we have to go back and find it. And I did all these like clues, and I was dropping pins in my phone as we were riding out. Like, I don't know if you've ever been to the salt flats, but it's vast flatness. Mm-hmm. And so we went the night before, and Heather and I came back the next night, and I made this like fun little scavenger hunt. But I didn't take into account that we went out there in the evening and we went back in the middle of the day. So first of all, like the mirage effect, I couldn't see any of the little markers that I set up because it was so bright. Then my phone overheated because it was like blasting. So like, yeah, it didn't work. So
had you actually buried it?
No, but
no.
I had to like tell her like, cause I could tell she was trying to go with it.
Yeah.
She was getting pretty stressed like 30 minutes in. Like I was like, babe, I promise I didn't, but it was a massive failure on my part.
So wait, did she know it was a proposal while you're doing the hunting?
I'm sure she knew, yes. Because once I got there, I was like, here's the deal. I hid this ring out here and we got to go find it. And I wanted her to think like, oh, I didn't actually do it, but
yeah.
But it was just funny looking back at how miserably it failed. It did not work at all. So I went a more traditional route the second time I asked. So
just get on one knee at a beautiful spot.
I mean, we knew she was going to say yes. It was one of those, you know what I mean? We
had
to, you know how it goes.
Yeah, but it's still fun. It's almost just it's a fantasy. I can't wait for my moment. Someday.
Yep. Also very a little stressful. Not gonna lie.
Say that again.
It was a little stressful, like because you feel like, you know, do I have to film it? Does it have to? Yeah. I'm just glad she said yes, and we're on to the fun part now with kids. So
Yeah, the fun
hard
part.
part's over in a way.
Did you film it?
The second one I did.
Nice.
I was planning to film that one, but all my electronics pretty much got toasted out there, so didn't have much luck the first day.
What can you do?
What can you do?
I'm happy for you, man. That's great.
Thank you.
And just like, it sounds like you gotta, I don't know, I think people can take it for granted, or I don't know the right way to phrase that, but like, you don't know what you got. It seems, you know, like you have a great job and you got this beautiful hobby you're into and a wonderful family. It's like, you're blessed beyond belief.
Oh, dude, I think about it every day. I really do. I think like being so busy between work and riding and especially family stuff now, like I don't have a second in my day to get depressed or dwell on negative shit. You know what I mean? It's just, I think it's kind of good to be busy all the time. You know what I mean? And constantly being tested and stuff like that. I think there's a lot of truth, and I'm sure, I know you're a hard worker, Bobby. Like you could relate to what I'm saying there, right?
Yeah, 100%. I avoided responsibility for the longest time. And then as soon as you take it on a little bit, you're like, oh, it's actually pretty fulfilling and I feel more free. It's wild.
And I think like BMX makes me a better employee, and being a store director and carrying makes me a better BMX rider. Like I think it's just kind of that life. And then nowadays too, like one thing I've realized with the kids is like I don't really get like more than an hour to myself every day. And it's just, I've got to crank out all the things I need to do. And like that hour that you do get is like golden. You know what I mean? It's like, it's the best feeling. Like, all right, I got half hour to go ride. Like, it's just like the best feeling. And then on a Sunday, just know I'm like, dude, I get to go out with the homies and try to get some stuff. Like
it's more special.
Yep. Except the weeks are really long on, if I go a few Sundays striking out, not getting clips, when I have to wait a whole new week to try again.
Yeah.
Like the worst feeling, like I got 7 days till I get another shot at this. Like
because it's like an addiction.
Eat at you.
If you get a clip filmed and you nail it, that is such a good like dopamine hit that like give me more.
You know what though, Bobby? Here's another one. I sometimes by the time I've landed tricks, I have been like stoked that I landed it, but it wasn't until like a few days later that I was actually like, holy shit, I did that. Like that's pretty amazing. You ever been like that?
Why do you think you're like, yeah, I think I can relate to that big time. It's almost like a dissociate, but
yeah, I think it's just that's a good way to put it. So
yeah, just like, I don't know, zooming out, just like you kind of watch myself, which is a common theme where I'm just like, it's either a beautiful moment or a super stressful moment, but I will just like jump back and just witness myself doing the thing, and it doesn't really feel real until afterwards. Tell me about being a landlord.
So I recently sold my house about a year ago, but I was kind of had one of the BMX houses here in Utah. I bought a house pretty young, and I'm glad I did. But later on in life, I moved out with Heather, my wife, and so I was a full-on landlord, and it was another thing to juggle, but it was a nice little source of income coming in. My only problem was, though, I was renting to friends, and so I gave them way too good a rates. I never got as rich as I probably could have.
That's a tough.
But they took good care of the house for me, so it is what it is. You know what I mean? So
it's what it is.
I know you're into all that real estate stuff too, so that's
I'm aware of it. I don't know it, but I'm aware.
They're listening. Do anything you can to buy a house young. I know it's changed a lot, even in the last 10 years. So I was luckily in a position when the housing economy was in the shitter in around 2008 or 9.
That's when you bought a house?
Yeah. So
dude, good on you. What did you pay for it back then?
$190.
And it's worth 500, 600 now?
Yeah, it was around that. So so yeah, it's just, I don't know. I guess it's hard to tell kids to do that nowadays because
it's pretty
so expensive.
I don't know, man. That's a tough one, but real estate is the vehicle through which you can reach wealth.
Yep.
So yeah, good for you. What's been your favorite Halloween costume over the years?
Back when I used to dress up for Halloween, I've had a few. I always try to do something that pushes the boundaries. Let's just say.
Like what?
I don't know where we're going. Was it the year that I was Jared from Subway? Let's not go.
That's a great costume.
Last minute, dude. I just went and bought the biggest pair of pants at Walmart and held it out to the side.
Yes.
So
brilliant. Why do you always get ice cubes in your coffee order?
Why do I always get ice cubes?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like super hot coffee. Okay. I don't like super hot coffee. I can't stand when coffee's like super hot, and I don't like creamer in my coffee. So like, creamer can cool it off a little bit.
Yeah.
If it's just black, it's just too hot for too long. And so that's
hence a couple ice cubes in there.
Yep.
Good man.
Obviously, I don't know about you, but coffee is a big part of the BMX experience.
Oh fuck yeah! It's so crazy to meet somebody who's never drank coffee or just like chooses not to drink it. I'm like, what?
In my later in life, I've really realized too, like abstaining from coffee at certain times is half the battle too.
Yeah, because that makes it
getting a nice cup when you need it, when you're ready to go do something. You can really.
I need a reset on that front because I have Costco cold brew.
Yep.
That I drink every morning, and then I'll get a C4 energy drink, and that's to start the day. And then if I'm feeling it around noon, I'll have another one. But it would be nice to just get the feeling that you originally got from that first cup of coffee would be cool.
That's the high we're all chasing.
Yeah.
On days that I'm riding, I will only have like a half a cup of coffee in the morning.
Smart, because otherwise you're too shaky and shit.
Yep. Yeah. But then right before I go ride, I have a nice big cup. But there's something about creative ideas definitely seem to help with some caffeine involved for sure.
I think that there are kids out there that have seen your videos that never otherwise would have seen a BMX video and have gotten into it. So thank you for your service and sharing BMX with the world. If you could be talking to a 12-year-old who just got so stoked on doing tricks like you and give him advice for life in general, what would that advice be?
It's so cliche, but just be yourself. Be willing to feel dumb, to be willing to, stick to your kind of like the ideas we were talking about. Get a plan, and no matter what those little things bubble up telling you to doubt yourself, don't doubt yourself, and just go with your idea. See how it works.
Yes. I would rephrase it and say expect self-doubt to happen, but realize that that's not really you. That's just a thought that passes by, and you can choose to acknowledge it or choose to not acknowledge, but you can choose to believe it or just let it go. And that's a beautiful thing. I like where your head's at.
You it was a little better. I like the way you said it. Sorry, I kind of skipped around there a little bit, but thanks, Bobby.
It's all good.
Hey, if we're starting to wrap up, I do have a question for you.
Hit me. What
can you tell me about the intro to Mediocre at Best with the choreographed I remember talking. Because I always would Bill Hostleton about it. Who exactly came up with that, and how did that happen? Because that's the kind of clips to me that get stuck in my brain. Because just will find after I first saw it, I found myself how the fuck I'd watched it trying to see if you guys edited it that's the kind of shit that's right up my alley. And so here's the perfect guy to talk to about that.
I'm so proud of that one. It was my idea, and it was my coordination and my directing and pretty much my willing it to existence, which I'm proud of, because wrangling up 13 dudes to come and coordinate and do that, I'm not sure I could pull it off again. I have to do something for the intro for Mediocre 2, and I don't have anything yet, and I'm
gotcha.
I'm fuck, I don't know. And
dude, you kind of have to. It's you got to start off with a banger though, man. If it's Mediocre 2, that's one of the things that I don't know. But how long did that take you guys?
So we did one Sunday where I think there was 3 or 4 fewer people than in the final one, and spent 5-6 hours trying it. And then it just didn't. I think we landed something, but when I was looking at the footage, I just was it's not quite it. I wish I think it's on a tape somewhere in my garage, but that's
Hold that thought real quick, and I don't want to derail you at all, but
yeah,
I think being a creative, like one of your biggest struggles too is like knowing I've got it, but knowing that it's like good enough that it would work, but knowing that you can make it better and suffering and waiting to like make it better. But all right, right back to what you're saying. So you had it.
Yeah.
And then...
So we did it. And then I was like, it's like pretty dope. And I think showing anybody would be happy, but let's try again. And so I think a week or 2 weeks later. So essentially the answer is it took 2 full Sundays. So like 12 hours total. And Dean jumped from the bike to the other bike 500 times. Like
that's what blows. Like, yeah. And I know like with Ballman ending with the ice to like it blew my mind. That's like the shit. Like
it's it was one of the finest moments in my life.
What was the point? Like where, like there had to be like one point that like kept getting you guys. Like was there one point that stuck out to you that's like...
I'm trying to remember. It was like somewhere in the middle. I think Drew and Eric do a 180 where their tires.
Yeah, I think I remember him saying that was extremely hard. If I remember,
that was a catching point, and it was like fuck. And as soon as they would 180 next to each other and it doesn't hit, everybody, all right, back to start. Cody was really good about the nose, man. It's funny because it's like it's all kind of blurry. LaShawn pretty much hit his shit every time that he got his shit. Tammy. But everybody was like so nervous to be the one who fucked up, especially the more you're going, the more the pressure.
Oh, dude, that's why. Like, yeah, I know there's so many layers involved with that, and like,
yeah, man, I'm glad you can appreciate it because that was something special for sure.
Well, do something for me and like do something that's comparable for the second one because that definitely got me stoked seeing that.
My idea for the second one, I'm not worried about sharing it, was to split it up and use a little bit. It would be much easier, but like split it up into like doubles. So and use a video editing trick to transition from one scene to the next. So who knows if we'll make that happen. But like Robbie and Clay could be together and do shit at a spot that they like, and then the camera whooshes over, and that's the transition to Joey and Westcott doing something else there. But
okay.
I have ideas about doing it, not BMX tricks, cool. Just doing some interview type things, some comedy type of thing, or something like my brain goes to like what haven't I seen, or what could just genuinely be different and cool. Yep. And it's a real mind fuck, but I'm excited. 3 months till go time, and so
dang, it's coming quick.
Yeah, let alone starting my own business and keeping retainer clients happy and taking on freelance projects and juggling everything that's in life. It's a real fucking busy chapter of life. But I'm
talking about too busy to. I mean, sometimes it's the best thing.
Yeah, honestly. So, on the note of wrapping up, Mount Rushmore. Who's your all-time Mount Rushmore?
I stayed up way too late thinking about this. Let me just say one thing here. There are so many riders that there's things that they do that I like love. Like, you know, I steal a lot of little things from a lot of people. I don't, you know what I mean? I think obviously, you know how it is. So, dude, I have like, this was hard. This was extremely hard. But I think I'm going to go Mount Rushmore for like what influenced me to be me.
Yes.
And it's going to be, there's 5 on Mount Rushmore, right?
4.
Oh, shoot.
Ooh, you got to eliminate one, dude. Who are you going to cross off?
Okay, I'm going to put Beringer on there, just like we talked about. Yep. Beringer being the man, just being himself really influenced me. I'd also have to say Elf. I know Elf and I don't ride the same by any means, but seeing his like work ethic and stuff like that with filming and getting stuff done, and then how much he helped me in my career and stuff like that, I'd have to put him on there.
He's a pillar.
Yep. I'd have to say Rat Boy, just what he did over the years.
Yes. That
was just one that really kind of changed my route of how I looked at things.
Oh no, his phone died. We'll come back.
I don't know what happened. I got a phone call and it like knocked it off there. My
Back,
apologies.
left. I assumed your phone died.
Hmm.
So we had
Okay, yeah.
Beringer. We had
The most important part.
Matt Beringer, and then we had Rat Boy and
Elf.
Elf, and then there's one more. And you got to pick between the two because you wrote down 5.
Dude, I wrote down a lot more than 5. I'm gonna have to say Stephen Hamilton, just as far as like his style of riding, the pegless and stuff like that. Really, I could relate to a lot more than a lot of the rails, ledges guys. As much as I was a street rider, I was never the biggest rail or ledge guy necessarily. So seeing somebody like him just kind of come along and do his own thing
was a beautiful thing.
Was a game changer for me for sure. So that's it. But like I said, that was, dude, it is not easy picking.
Yeah. Who else? Well, show us what's on your paper there. What all did you write down?
I'll give you guys a quick glance. I don't know if you can see it or not, but I wrote down some names that I feel like over the years. Want me to read a few that I?
Yeah.
So I have Beringer. Some of these are mixed in with relevant dudes right now. Eric Elstrand, Simone, Mastroni, Edwin. Always, just the way he did things, opened my eyes to a lot of things. Kevin Porter, I definitely sweated a lot of his stuff. Taj, Eric Lichtenberger, Ian Schwartz, Trey Jones. Some of them are current dudes now that I love watching, like Lewis Mills, Devin Smiley. Jacob Cable always blows my mind with how hard some of the stuff he's doing. That's just like, how does he do that?
He's in a lane of his own.
Tim, do you remember Tim Knoll?
Yeah.
I liked what Tim Knoll was doing. People like Carl Pointer, Cam Wood, Seth Kimbrough, dudes like Dak, Nathan Williams, Began, Van Holman was always like, we grew up watching Criminal Mischief. Jason Enns was always another guy that I looked up to and was cool being on volume with Jason Enns. Like, always kind of blew my mind. Denham Cox, that dude always just cracks me up with his like nonchalant riding. Like, I don't know if he would ever know it, but I'm like, he's probably one of my favorite current riders. I just the way he does things just cracks me up, and it's so cool and like
incredible.
Doesn't even seem like he's trying, but the list goes on, man. And I know there's so many dudes that I wish I probably could have got on there and didn't mention, but
what can you do? It's a tough question.
Exactly.
Let me I forgot because I was about to wrap this up, but then while you were gone, I was looking at my Instagram and I forgot that I put the crowd questions out. So
yeah, let's do a few of those real quick.
Stoneyard BMX says, do you ever ride trails?
I did growing up. That's all I had in the small town that I grew up in. Me and my friends made jumps. It was never like my thing. I kind of always sucked at jumping in a lot of ways. So yes, I used to, but not anymore. No, tons of respect for dudes that do, and just the amount of work and dedication that goes into that. Tons of respect.
My favorite things to watch.
Yeah, not my expertise whatsoever there.
Same. Like I'm so uncomfortable in the air, it's disgusting. But like watching somebody like Dovey roast, or just like, I don't know, the simple whip out over a big dirt jump.
Yep.
Is fucking
timeless.
I'm like, that must feel so good.
Yep.
Joe freaking Cephalo says, what's the best advice you received as a pro rider?
I think I know it, but I can't remember who told me it. And maybe I don't know where I learned it, but always, I think, especially nowadays, kind of, maybe it was harder growing up, but like be in control of your own footage a little bit. For example, I was doing video projects with dudes and I like give it my all. And one clip in particular, I crashed and landed on Dave Chappelle's feet in San Francisco. And the dude that was filming it, Brian Purdy, was doing a full-length video, and it ended up falling through. And Volume bought the footage years later, but he lost that clip.
No.
It's like the one that always got away. Like, I just So I don't know. Nowadays, I
literally
like.
his feet.
Yeah, I slipped. Is it Third and Army there?
Yeah.
I've told this story before, but I was doing a clip and he showed up with his family and we were all just like, holy crap, it's like Dave Chappelle over there. And so he came over to the filmer wanting a closer look at what I was doing. I was like, all right, I got to juice this one. So I was trying to do something on those curved things and my foot slipped on wax because I was trying like a front tire slide thing.
Yeah.
And so I fell over about 4 feet and landed on my back. And Dave Chappelle was looking down at me. He's like, Jackie Chan, are you all right? And like helped me get up and stuff. And that was probably one of the best clips I'd ever filmed and lost. So I just say,
damn,
keep control of your own footage.
That's easier said than done, especially if
Yeah.
you're with another filmer. But
Yeah, and I know, and maybe it's trust the filmer.
yeah,
Because don't get me wrong, Mastroni and Tinsley and Elf, they've had my footage before, but keep as much control in your side of the ring as you can, especially nowadays when it's kind of a little more you can do, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you don't have to rely on companies and videos and stuff like that. So
that's good advice.
long way to answer
if
it.
you were a musician telling somebody own your masters, like Russ versus somebody who gets bought out by a label or
Yep.
something bad happens with the.
Yep.
That's a good answer. Whack username says, how much do you trust your mag wheel?
Oh, that's a good question. So this is one of the ones I was using for like the tricks when I catch my wheel. Can you see how beat up that is there?
That's pretty beat.
And mine is blowing out the bearings and having the bearings shoot out because I was repeatedly landing on it. Like they're pretty much indestructible. The only part you can have an issue with is the hub there. But as far as like the plastic mag itself, they're pretty indestructible nowadays.
It's pretty inspiring. I kind of want to get a mag wheel now.
And we might get this question too. I'll touch on it. I get a lot of people asking me why I run the mag, and I think it's not a bad thing to have a little gimmick that helps set you apart.
Yeah.
So, and I just like the way it looks, and that's why I ran a mag
spontaneous thing. That's the next question. Chardmander says, was the mag wheel a spontaneous idea, or is there a funny story behind it?
I mean, I always liked the way they looked. I'll even do it to this day. Sometimes I'll just like watch like old BMX videos, like back when they were running mags, just like to try to mine a little idea or a start and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then I had a friend here in Utah, and he started running a mag on his bike, and I just thought it was like the coolest thing ever. And so I was like, I'm gonna do it.
Ain't that the way it goes?
Yep.
That reminds me of one local kid here. He's older than me. Billy. I forget his last name, but I just saw him the other day. And when I was younger and I Got Work came out, and that's Chadwick's first video, I was like, what's that? It's so cool because it's a gimmick. It sets you apart fucking immediately. I think I already asked you this. Devin Lamp Manual. Devin, ask him about filming his shook part. And I was like, we kind of covered it.
One. Thanks, Devin.
Yeah, shout out Devin. Burgundy BMX. What inspires you outside of BMX?
Dude, I think we touched on it. Like I watch a lot of snowboarding, skateboarding, skiing, you name it. If it's out there and creative, doesn't even necessarily have to be creative. I can get inspired by watching like a good sports game sometimes. You know what I mean? Like there's just so much. And I think everything in my life is BMX. So everything in my brain, I kind of filter through the BMX lens. And so like anything can inspire me really.
Nice. What about like self-improvement? This isn't somebody asking, but like, are you reading? Are you fucking doing classes or?
I do. I don't read, but books on tape from time to time. I'm always a sucker for the how to become a better creative one type stuff. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. You read
and like Rick Rubin's mindset on a lot of that stuff. So yeah, I could be better at it, but I will listen to some books on tape here and there.
Yeah. Have you read, speaking of the creative stuff, the War of Art?
The Art of War, or the War of Art? Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely, dude. And that goes back to my going out at 10 o'clock when I'm not feeling it. You got to get out there, and when the ideas come, they just come. And
that's real.
You could have touched on that more, but I am a true believer of that. oh, I forget the author's name, but true believer in that, like the ideas, where do they come from? Like, and I think you do have to just put yourself out there, and when they come, they come. You know what I mean?
Facts.
I've gotten a lot better too at, like, sometimes it can be kind of like you feel like, well, I'm trying my hardest. Like, why can't I get an idea? And all of my best ideas just like, it just all of a sudden hits me, and it's like, oh, that's like, why didn't I think of that before? And then here's another thing that I've noticed: when I do get a really good idea that I'm stoked on, I feel like, oh, I've got to film it quick because somebody else is going to think of that. And I always, like, when I get a good idea, I know I get that in the back of my head, like, oh, I got to get this quick because somebody else is going to think of it. And looking back is like, nobody was ever going to do that dumb thing. But like, that's a gauge when I know it's a good idea, basically. It's just so simple feeling that it's like, oh, somebody else is going to think of that. Or,
yeah. John Woods says, did you and DeMarcus ever get a real answer to why you guys were dropped from the volume team?
I can't speak for DeMarcus. As for myself, I thought I was doing pretty good. I was working on headlights during that time. And I was saving all my best stuff for that. And I thought I was doing pretty good on Instagram. But looking back I could see how maybe I wasn't putting enough stuff out for them, even though that I thought I was. And especially before Instagram came out, I would take like 2 or 3 years to do a video part. Like, and I was not because I wasn't out riding and stuff like that. I was always out riding, always trying to film stuff, but I was such a perfectionist. So like, now that I'm older, looking back, I could see why those guys maybe didn't think I was the model pro BMXer. So, and that's perceptions that's come with time as I've gotten older, and you know what I mean? Kind of like, oh, well, yeah. I thought I was doing great, but I could see how I didn't want to just put stuff out to put stuff out. I've never been that kind of guy. So yeah, I don't know. That one hurt a lot more than the GT thing, because I felt like, oh, I wasn't good enough. Like with the GT thing, it's kind of like, well, shitty situation, big deal. So
yeah. Speaking of volume, what's your favorite memory with Drew Hosselton?
Dude, probably some of the trips when he came out to Salt Lake was so cool, because like Drew was such a funny dude with his ideas, because he would just like, we had the voice for him, and it was like, that was a great era, because, you know, Mastroni was the team manager and filmer.
Yeah,
I felt like I could be myself with those guys. And obviously my ideas were, I mean, it takes me forever, but Haas just had a way that he could like walk at a spot and be like, oh, that rock's kind of cool. And
God, I missed
over there. And the next thing you know, he's like putting these 3 things together, and you're just like, dude, is it like, you make it look so easy?
Yep.
Drew, like, and he was just so nonchalant about it. Like that's what I always remember about Drew. He's just like, never seemed like he was trying too hard. He just made it happen.
Drew was trying hard, but
what's your perspective of that? Give me.
I love him, man. And my memory with him is he used to pick me up. This is like early days, and I'd be in the back of his van. There's no windows, and he would take extra turns to keep the spot secret and not let anybody know how to get there. And
that's awesome.
I would say, where are we going today, Drew? And he would go, it's a secret spot. And just fucking the Drew voice. I lived with him for a while, and he's a monotonous lover. Like one of the craziest memories thinking of Drew is I was across the hallway. So when he was making his intimates, it was like as steady as you can. Like it was just
like his writing, man. Get the job
20
done.
minutes, just steady pace. God, I love and miss that man.
Yep.
And like a pretty
shout out Drew Hosselton.
A beautiful mind in that. Very caring and empathetic and sweetheart and super fucking talented and easy to film. Like he was one of the original, like, I don't know, fire under my ass to get out.
I think there's 2 different types of writers. I think some are maybe more influenced by the filmer, like, hey, what about take them to the spot, and like, but I feel like a dude like Drew, he was putting the work in on his end to like really bring his stuff to the table, which is always a good thing. You know what I mean?
It made it so easy as the film.
That's been hard for me too, as like a professional writer. Like it's hard for people to be like, oh, that's a Tate spot. You know what I mean? Because I don't even know what a Tate spot is half the time until I'm messing around on it, you know? So
Exactly. I think about it when I come across something unique. Your name always comes up. You are synonymous with creative BMX riding. It's funny how that works.
well, I'm trying.
What's your dog's name?
Charlie.
Cool. That's an inside joke.
Oh,
Inside joke. Paul Poser. We talked about what he thinks about GT leaving the industry, and is there? The Mason Gideon says, "Is there beef with Sean?"
Oh, with the
Mercani?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
It's got to be.
That was a funny story. I can talk about that really quick.
What the hell happened?
I feel like I was at the forefront of BMX drama. This was last year at about this time. So I remember when obviously he cut his frame in half, and it was like,
yeah,
everybody was chiming in and stuff like that. I was sick with COVID, and I was just like, saw it, and my brain automatically, it's not that far off to think, like, I was having my wheels fall off. I was like, what if you could put a frame back together? And so I was too sick to like ride, but I was like sick of being in my bed for a few days. So I went downstairs and I cut one of my old frames in half, and to just keep myself entertained, I came up with a strategy to put a frame back together. Basically, I used some magnets and some other things, and I thought it was just going to like be funny. You know what I mean? Like I never had any like ill intent to Sean.
Yeah.
But I could see how he maybe took it that I did. I get that. And so I filmed that clip and put it up, and within I guess a matter of hours, it turned into what it turned into. And that was not like, I mean, I challenge anybody to ever see like a mean comment. I'm not ever going to go looking for drama. I'm really not. And yeah. I feel like I was like thrust into it. And he said a few things about me that pissed me off. So I popped back a few times too. But I had no idea that was going to turn into that. I really didn't.
That was a
man. And I feel like I had a lot of kids saying pretty mean things to me during all that, which is fair. You know what I mean? It is what it is. But yeah, looking back, it was kind of funny. I did end up finally talking to Sean, and we were able to squash it. So that's good.
That's good.
Wish him the best. But yeah, my intentions were never to start that whole thing.
I'm trying to find it. Was it a post?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, I see it. Here we go. Hold on.
I think the trick did pretty good, and not everybody knew what it. Yeah. So. No idea.
That's fucking good, dude. I'm seriously asking. I'm looking for super strong magnets. What kind, dude? Neodymium, rare. Shit. That's cool. Anything else?
I think we covered a lot. I don't really have too much else, really.
You can always do round 2 whenever you please.
Okay.
And get it going again. How did we meet? How did you and I meet? I can't really remember. If I had to guess,
if I saw me here Oker at best before I saw you, but I feel like I was relatively tapped into the Arizona scene, just knowing Hostleton and stuff like that. So
true, for sure.
I always felt like I kind of fit in with you guys down there a little bit too. You always felt like you were kind of on our same wavelength of getting weird, putting emphasis on spots and stuff like that. So
what a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for your time. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, man. Hey, thank you so much for having me, Bobby. Thanks for doing this for BMX. It's cool to see somebody making it happen. That's one thing sometimes I feel like I could do better at. All I really have time to do is film video stuff. So I'm glad there's people like you and all the people behind the scenes in the industry right now. Like, thanks to you and everybody that does that kind of stuff. So
that means a lot. Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right, let's get out of here. Thanks for watching, Knights.